No, that's not mine. That's your dome. That's your Arcadia.
All right. You got any questions in house? Yeah, I mean. Actually, probably not. Mic check. Mic check. Good.
My mic on?
All right. Good. All
I ain't
right.
trying to word it.
No problem. Anybody else in house? No.
Roll over.
Nah, they are essentially the same thing. Good question though. So we're gonna look at both, because the question for those online is: are evil angels and demons the same thing, or are fallen angels and demons the same thing? So I got a lesson on this actually called Angels and Demons. It kind of goes a little more in depth. But let's start off looking at the first one to fall. Let's look at Revelation 12 and get an idea the origin of these fallen angels. Revelation 12. And pick it up at verse 1 when you get there. Revelation 12 and 1. Whenever you're ready.
And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she being with child cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads.
All right, so we're looking at this dragon. It said a great red dragon appeared, having 7 heads and 10 horns. So we're going to skip over to verse 6 and see who this is talking about.
And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she had a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days.
You know what? I'm sorry. Let's go back to verse 3, because we should have at least read 4. So we see it's this great red dragon. Oh, you did read 3, didn't you?
Yeah.
All right. So go ahead. Pick it up at verse 4. That's my fault.
And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven.
All right, so whose tail? We still dealing with this red dragon that he saw, having 7 heads and 10 horns. They say his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven. So this talking about the other angels following Satan. As we're going to see, this is talking about Satan. They followed after him. Go ahead.
And the dragon did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born.
All right, let's skip down to verse 7 and go ahead.
And there was a war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels.
All right, so we see this war in heaven, and we just read about some of these stars being cast to the earth. So that's the end result of this war. Go ahead.
And prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in
All right.
heaven.
So Satan and his angels prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. Go ahead.
And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan.
Cast out to where?
Which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth.
All right, so he down here, and who else?
And his angels were cast out with him.
Him and his angels was cast down here to the earth. So, yeah, this is the fall of Satan and the angels that followed him. And we're going to see these are the same ones down here tormenting people, because just like Satan, they know also that their judgment is set and they got but a short time. What verse was that, my bro?
That was verse 9.
All right. Skip down to verse 17. Actually, I'm sorry. Verse 12.
Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea.
All right, so notice, they're rejoicing that Satan is cast out, and they say he's the accuser of their brethren, because same thing we read about him doing with Job, to the Father, saying, hey, well, does he fear you for not? You done gave him it. That's what he was up there doing in heaven. So they rejoicing, but they said, woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for it said, the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. All right, so now let's go over to Luke. I want to say 12. You know what? We'll just go over to Jude. I should have said while we were there. I was looking for something in Luke, but it ain't really relevant. But just where Christ was talking to the disciples, he sent out by twos, and when they came back, actually the 70 that he had sent out came back, and it was like, "Yo, we got power over the devils through your name," And Christ told them, like, don't marvel at that. He was like, I seen Satan fall from heaven like lightning. So Jesus, he's there. He confirms that this dragon we read about in Revelation is indeed talking about Satan, and that his minions that were cast out with him, the disciples had power over them also through his name. So I was just going to show that these are the same ones. We'll probably still read it. But in the meantime, let's go to Jude. It's one chapter right before the book of Revelation. And pick it up at verse 6. Jude, verse 6.
And the angels, which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he hath reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day.
All right, so we see that these angels now that followed Satan, it said a third of them, his tail drew a third of them and cast them to the ground. It say that they under everlasting chains, under darkness, so we can't see these angels until the judgment of the great day. Skip down to verse 9.
Yet Michael the archangel, when contending with the devil, he disputed about the body of Moses. All
right, so now this is something that we just read, that this the same Michael in Revelation that was fighting with Satan and his angels. So we see that these the same ones. Indeed, they were cast to the earth. All right. Now let's go over to Matthew, the 8th chapter, I believe. Matthew chapter 8. And let's see what we're looking for. And we're going to pick this up around verse 20. 28. Matthew chapter 8 and verse 28. When you're ready.
And when he was come to the other side into the country of the Gergeans, they met him two possessed with devils, coming out of the tombs, exceedingly fierce, so that no man might pass by that way. And behold, they cried out, saying, what have we to do with thee, Jesus?
All right, so notice this man is, possessed. They say there's two possessed with devils here coming out the tombs. But the devils recognize Christ approaching, and they know exactly who he is. So they say, what have we to do with thee, Jesus, Thou son of God, go ahead.
Art thou come hither to torment us before the time?
See, we already read just now that, hey, Satan and his angels, they under these chains of darkness reserved until that great day of judgment, right? We read that in Jude. So now we come here and we see it's still calling them devils here, but we see that they possessing a man, first off, here on the earth. These are the same ones we read about, being cast down, having great wrath because they know that they got but a little time. And we see them recognizing they know that their time is up in a little while. So they said, art thou come hither to torment us before the time? What verse you end at?
At that, 29.
Okay, go ahead.
And there was a good way off from them a herd of many swine feeding. So the devils besought him, saying, if thou cast us out, suffer us to go away into the herd of swine.
Uh-huh.
And he said unto them, go. And when they were come out, they went into the herd of swine. And, behold, the whole herd of swine ran violently down a steep place into the sea, and perished in the waters.
Go ahead.
And they that kept them fled, and went their ways into the city, and told everything, and what was befallen to the possessed of the devils.
All right. So now let's go over to the 10th chapter and see what they call them there. So we see that these devils, they call them here, possessing a man, and they end up they ask the Lord, are you here to torment us before the time? So obviously these some of the same ones that followed Satan and was cast out and given this judgment along with him. But now Matthew 10, and pick it up at verse 1 when you're ready.
And when he had called unto him his 12 disciples, he gave them power against unclean spirits.
Oh, so now we see here, it say when he called unto him his 12 disciples, he gave them power against unclean spirits. Go ahead.
To cast them out.
And it's what we just read Jesus doing with the devils and the herd of swine. So yeah, they the same thing. He said now he giving them the power to do it, to cast them out and what?
And to heal all manner of sickness and all manner of disease.
Let's skip down to let me see. All right, skip down to verse 7 and go ahead.
And as ye go, preach, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Heal the sick, cleanse the lepers, raise the dead.
What else?
Cast out devils.
Cast out what?
Devils.
All right, so yeah, this words is interchangeable. It calls them unclean spirits in the beginning of the chapter. And we know that the angels are spirits. We could read that in Psalm 104 and 4. It say, he maketh his angels spirits, his ministers a flame of fire. So indeed, these are those same angels that got cast out. Call them unclean spirits here. I don't even know if it used the term demons in the Bible, but I know that that's more like modern. But you know it. Yeah, it's all the same thing. Yeah, I don't even see nowhere is the word demon in there. But that's actually the name of the lesson I had made, was angels and demons, because that's what people might call them today. But in the Bible, it's unclean spirit, evil angels. Let's go to Psalm 78 real quick. We'll just look at it one more phrase. Psalm 78. But yeah, it's only two kinds. You know, it's the ones that still good, which we know some are down here on the earth too. Because we know the angel of the Lord encampeth round about him that fear him, to deliver him out of all his troubles. But let's see, Psalm 78, and pick it up around 40. Let's see. Pick it up at 41. 40, verse 40.
How oft did they provoke him in the wilderness and grieved him in the desert.
All right, so who's it talking about? Israel, of course, back in the wilderness for those 40 years. It said they grieved him. And what happened?
Yea, they turned back and tempted God. And limited the Holy One of Israel.
So by not obeying, they caused God to turn away, because otherwise he was going to be ready to destroy everybody. But now let's skip down to verse 49 and go ahead.
He cast upon them the fierceness of his anger, wrath, and indignation, and trouble by sending evil angels among them.
Okay, so yeah, they still angels, but it just denotes them as evil, because these are them same ones. So yeah, evil angels, unclean spirits, devils, or, you know, people like to use the phrase demons and stuff like that these days, all dealing with the same thing. So hopefully that answers your question. Yeah, all right. Nah, you good. Praise the Lord. I didn't hear you. I didn't know.
Nah, he was whispering.
Okay.
The whispers.
All right. You think of how to word your question yet, sis? Uh-oh. Mm. Okay. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. You might as well. Like, I know you already know, which is good. But yeah, I've heard that one too. People say stuff like, you can't do, you know, for the people online, the sister asked about keeping the holy days. And I guess, you know, someone may have had a discussion that keeps the Sabbath day, but doesn't see the obligation to keep the holy days.
Raggy?
Oh, yeah, Ecclesiastes. I think
talking
they might be talking about Ecclesiasticus or something from the Apocrypha.
From the Apocrypha.
Yeah, there's a book in the Apocrypha that sounds just like Ecclesiastes,
I'm about to say,
but that ain't in
talking about
Ecclesiastes.
Ecclesiastes.
Nah, that, not in there.
Talking to? I gotta talk to this brother.
Yeah.
And sister, brother, whoever you talking.
But as we gonna go to the book that you did name, and just get some foundation there. Let's go to Ecclesiastes. Yeah, 12. Just to kind of see why a lot of people get thrown off, because they may not be grounded first with the Word of God. Because, I mean, again, I started off dealing with these other books before I came into truth, and I was, like, lost, all the way lost. Gospel, you know what I mean? I don't even want to start naming books, but I had them, and I didn't understand the basics of the Bible first and foremost. So they was able to, you know, lead me anywhere, because I ain't know what went against what, you know, what was already written. That's what we got to, because, again, God ain't just going to keep, you know, changing everything. He ain't going, you know, everything he give us is built upon the foundation he done already laid. It's always been like that since the beginning. So we're going to start off at chapter 12, and right towards the end, I'm not even there, but I guess, what is it? You know, the verse. Is it 10?
What? You want the conclusion of the whole matter?
I guess 12. Yeah, thanks.
And Father, by these, my son, be admonished. And making many books, there is no end. And much study is a weariness of the flesh.
All right, so he said to be admonished. This, you know, he's correcting us, people who may be, you know, falling victim to this. So he said of making many books, there is no end. You know, it's so many books out there, I'm telling you. I just listen to books now because I ain't got time to actually read them. I'll be listening to them while I'm driving. But he said of making of many books, there's no end. And a lot of them got misinformation in them. But again, we know the Bible warns us. It says, you know, that you have a more sure word of prophecy, right? Where do we find that at? In the Bible. I didn't find prophecy in none of the other books I was reading. There wasn't none in there. And they had different formats. You know what I'm saying? Like, one of them I had more than one copy of was the Gospel of Thomas. And in it, throughout the entire book, it just is like Yeshua, because that's what it calls Jesus. It's like his disciples asked this, Yeshua said that. His disciples asked this, Yeshua said. There's no chronological order like all the other Gospels, Mark, Matthew, Luke, John. It had a lot of the same stuff that's in all of them, but no beginning and end. The whole thing was, and that seemed a little odd to me. Plus, it had like half of the stuff that was in there, but then it had things that were totally, seemed like they might have been from somewhere else. So I, again, wasn't grounded. It started taking me somewhere, to believe what other people were saying, because it sounded like what they were saying. But he said, and further, by these, my son, be admonished, of making many books there's no end, and much study is a weariness of the flesh. Go ahead. Verse 13.
Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man.
All right, so it's good to, take people here just to show them the bottom line is you keeping the commandments or not? Because the Sabbath day, hey, commandment, but then, we got a weekly Sabbath, but, hey, the Lord got annual Sabbaths as well, and he even called them high Sabbaths. So, I don't see where you can take one, and separate it and not do the others. But we're going to go back to Leviticus now, 23. And we're going to see it's going to be very clear here because God already knew what he was going to do. He knew what Israel was going to do. So he knew they was going to be scattered all over. It ain't like God didn't know.
I want to know who he was talking to.
Where at? Where at?
I was talking about, I want to know who she was talking to.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can find something to just show.
Keep the Sabbath day, but
yeah, never cease to amaze me.
Circumcision doesn't mean nothing. Okay.
All right, so let's hold our spot here and go over to Genesis 49 real quick. Just to show that the Lord already knew what he was going to do. Genesis 49, and we'll pick it up at verse 9. Genesis 49 and 9 when you're ready.
Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, thou art gone up. He stooped down. He crouched as a lion and as an old lion. Who shall rouse him up?
Exactly, because we notice one of the Lord's names, the Lion of Judah, of the tribe of Judah, right? So this is why Jacob here, Israel, is talking to his sons, and he calls Judah over. He said he's going to tell them the things that's going to befall them in the last days. Then he calls Judah over. He starts talking about he couched as a lion and as an old lion who shall rouse him up, because this is really prophecy dealing with the latter times. Go ahead.
The scepter shall not depart from Judah.
So Judah going to be the one to rule out of the tribe. The scepter is that rod or staff that a king or the pharaohs used to carry that represents rulership, shall not depart from Judah. Go ahead.
Nor a lawgiver from between his feet.
Until what?
Until Shiloh come.
Okay, so it's letting us know, and this Shiloh talking about Jesus, but it's saying, hey, until he return, it say the scepter rulership is going to be with Judah, because the Lord let Israel know that for many days they're going to be without a king, without a prince, without a crown. He said until he comes, whose right it is, and that's talking about Jesus. But now let's see what else we can confirm this is Jesus with, because he's going to do something when he gets here. He talk about it all over the Bible. One of the things he's going to do when he gets here. Go ahead and finish that.
And unto him shall the gathering of the people be.
He said, unto him, Shiloh, shall the gathering of the people be. So this is already acknowledged that God was going to Israel, and he the same one that's going to gather them. He lets us know in Isaiah 11 how when the Lord when he returns, it even say, which means he was here already once. He's going to gather Israel from all over the world, names a bunch of nations, even says from the isles of the sea. So he knew he was going to scatter Israel, is the point I'm making. And guess what? He got it written even in Genesis, first book of the Bible, how he's going to gather Israel. Now, let's go to Leviticus, because, again, we just pointing out the Lord already knew he was going to scatter Israel when he gave them these commandments. Already knew. 23 and verse 1, my bro.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, concerning the feasts of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts.
Even these is Brother Chris' feast.
Even these are God's feasts.
Yes, sir. These are the feast of the Lord. Go ahead.
6 days shall work be done, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest. An holy convocation, ye shall do no work therein.
Where at?
It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings.
In New Jersey.
In all your dwellings.
Pennsylvania.
In all your dwellings.
Only in Jerusalem.
In all your dwellings.
See, he hadn't even scattered them yet. He letting them know it's the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings. We done already read, unto Shiloh shall the gathering of the people be. So he already knew he was going to scatter Israel. He letting them know here when he first give them the Sabbath day in all your dwellings. Well, you might say, well, all right, the person, they already keeping the weekly Sabbath. So let's skip around. Let's go over to verse, let's say 9. We're going to skip around. Yeah, verse 9.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, when ye be come into the land which I give unto you, ye shall, and shall reap the harvest thereof. Then ye shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest. And he shall wave the sheaf before the Lord, to be accepted for you. On the morrow after the Sabbath, the priest shall wave it.
All right, so now we just leaving from the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread and getting to the next feast we got coming up, Pentecost, or the Feast of Weeks, also known as First Fruits. So this is the beginning of it. When the harvest was ready, they were supposed to take a fistful or a sheaf of the harvest to the priest, and he was going to wave the sheaf before the Lord to be accepted on a certain day, notice, the morrow or the next day after the Sabbath. And this is why Jesus went and ascended up to the Father when he came out the grave. It lets you know it was the first day of the week. That's the morrow after the Sabbath. He had to go and be waved before the Father. That's one of the reasons he is called First Fruits, which is the name of this feast, because it was pointing to him. But now skip down to verse 14 and read.
And ye shall eat neither bread, nor parched corn, nor green ears, until the self same day that ye have brought an offering unto your God. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations.
Where
in
at?
all your dwellings.
In all your dwellings, right? So now we dealing with feast days, and we on Pentecost. But let's keep reading. Skip down to verse 20, because Pentecost was a 2-day thing. They had to waive the first part, then they would start counting Sabbaths. 7 Sabbaths later, on the next day, would make 50 days, and then they had to come with another offering. All right, and that's why they call it Pentecost, because that's Greek for 50. But now go ahead. What verse? I say skip to. 20. All right. 20, I guess 20. Yeah. Go ahead.
And the priest shall wave them with the bread of the first fruits for a wave offering before the Lord. With the 2 lambs, they shall be holy to the Lord for the priest. And ye shall proclaim on the selfsame day, that it may be an holy convocation unto you. Ye shall do no servile work therein. It shall be a statute forever in all your dwellings throughout your generations.
So again, he keep reiterating through all your dwellings, because as we already read, the Lord knew Israel was going to be scattered, and he clearly letting them know, keep my holy days, even my high days, when you get there. All right. We'll keep going a little bit further. Just keep reading. Pick it up at 27, actually. Or 26, I'm sorry.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, also on the 10th day of this 7th month, there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be a holy convocation unto you, and you shall afflict your souls, and offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. And ye shall do no work in the same day, that same day. For it is a day of atonement, to make an atonement for you before the Lord your God.
Go ahead.
For whatsoever soul it be that shall not be afflicted in that same day.
All right, pay attention now. He said, whatsoever soul there it be that shall not be afflicted. He didn't say whatever soul in Israel or Pennsylvania. He said whatever soul it be that is not afflicted in that same day. Go ahead.
He shall be cut off from among his people.
And
whatsoever soul it be that doeth any work in that same day, the same soul will I destroy from among his people.
All right, so this don't leave a lot of margin for error here, right? We got to get this right, or he say you cut off. But now, let's see where this is taking place at. Go ahead.
Ye shall do.
31.
Right?
Yeah.
Ye shall do no work, no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations and all your dwellings. All
right, so we should get the point by now. Common theme. He's going to keep saying, in all your dwellings. So it's nothing big. Just take them right here and show me how you can find a way out of it when he keep repeating in all your dwellings. But now, if that ain't, good enough, let's just see if maybe this is just something old that changed when Jesus came. Let's go over to Zechariah. Yeah. We'll go to Isaiah 66 first. Isaiah 66. Since it's on the way. Isaiah 66, and we're going to pick it up at verse 15. Yes, sir.
For, behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire.
So what's it talking about? The Lord returning with fire. We know this the second time. Go ahead.
For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh.
And
the slain of the Lord shall be many.
Again, the Bible lets us know the scripture can't be broken. We read earlier in this same book, Isaiah, that his word is not going to come back to him void. But the same way it rained and the waters the plants and does everything it need to do here on earth, then goes back up to the heaven. He said that's how his word is going to do. And this ain't happened yet, so it's going to be fulfilled in this time. He said, for by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh. And, like the brothers used to say, he don't mean baby, please. He talking about chopping heads off.
The slain of the Lord shall be many.
Many. It's saying another place from one end of the earth to the other. Go ahead, though.
They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one's tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh.
And we know this one tree is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. It said that was in the midst along with the tree of life. So this that same tree, this the only one he had a problem with man eating from since the beginning. And again, notice what else they doing, things that are contrary to his word, eating swine's flesh. And what else, bro?
And the abomination and the mouse
go ahead
shall be consumed together, saith the Lord.
Skip down to verse 22 and go ahead.
For as the new heavens and the new earth, which I will make, shall remain before me, saith the Lord, so shall your seed and your name remain.
Go ahead.
And it shall come to pass.
Pay attention.
That from one new moon to another.
Uh-huh.
And from one Sabbath to another.
Oh, they still observing the new moons and the Sabbath days, keeping track of all that? Why is that? Go ahead.
Shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith the Lord.
Hey, because they better be there when the time appointed come. Everybody need to come down to Jerusalem. We're going to see the Lord set that up, and the whole world is going to have to go down to Jerusalem to keep the feasts when Jesus get back. So this ain't going nowhere. Same way he told them to observe it back then is the same way we do today, and that they're going to even be doing it even better when the Lord get here. Yep. They're going to be going to Jerusalem like we should be doing if we had everything in order. Mm-hmm. But where'd you stop at?
That was 23.
Okay, go ahead.
And they shall go forth and look upon the carcasses of the men that are transgressed against me. For their worm shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched.
All right,
and
so
they shall be abhorring unto all flesh.
Right. So again, they're going to be able to see these two men whose carcasses, whose bodies is already in the lake of fire before anybody else. They even beat Satan there. And you can read about them in Revelation 19. They say how the Lord going to come and take the beast and the false prophet and put them in the lake of fire. And then he's going to put Satan in the bottomless pit for 1,000 years. And then once he lets Satan out the pit, as you read in them chapters like Revelation 19, 20, and 21, you'll see he lets Satan out of the bottomless pit and has him tempt some people on the earth. Then he puts them in the lake of fire. It says where the beast and the false prophet are. So they already there. And that's why we're reading about people going down to to worship before the Lord, to keep the Sabbath, looking at these men in the lake of fire. It said their body is going to be an abhorring to all flesh, because it's going to be not too far outside of Israel, the lake of fire. People are going to be able to see them, and they're going to just look and know that they don't want to be there. That's what everybody going to get a reminder every time they go down there to worship the Lord. Zechariah chapter 14, and this should be it. Zechariah, the 14th chapter. And let's pick it up at verse 16. Zechariah chapter 14 and 16.
And it shall come to pass that every one that is left of all the nations which come against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles.
He said everyone that is left of all the nations. Sound like some people ain't around no more. See, the Lord, he coming to deal with man for wickedness anyway, which is not listening. And notice what they're going to be doing. He said they're going to come up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the feast. This is what the world is going to be doing when Jesus returns. Let's see if they don't feel like it. They're going, oh, that's all right. Come back next year. Let's see. Go ahead, verse 17. Yeah, for real.
And it shall be that whoso will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain.
No rain, right? Well, I guess, won't need an umbrella, right? But what else? What else ain't you gonna need?
And if the family of Egypt go not up and come not, that have no rain, there shall be the plague, wherewith the Lord will smite the heathen that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. All right,
so again, he says it's gonna be no rain, which means you're not gonna eat. You ain't gonna need no umbrella. You ain't gonna need no fork, no spoon, no napkin, neither. You know what I'm saying? And he only saying to come down and keep the feast. But the whole world going to have to do this, and we know this the Lord's high day. It's one of his high days, last one of the year. So he said either they come down or they're not going to get no rain, and by extension, they're not going to eat. So hopefully these scriptures, you should be able to show somebody that they got to keep the holy days too. because he said, in all your dwellings. First, he already knew Israel was going to be scattered and told them, keep it in all your dwellings. But now we read about when the Lord returned, the whole world coming down and keeping the feast before him in Jerusalem. So hopefully that answers your question. All right. Okay, good question. And for the people online dealing with Jacob's trouble, we're going to go over to Revelation 12 again. And the question is Jacob's trouble, is also known as the Great Tribulation, is that, just black people, or let's say just Israel by nationality that's going to be going through it, or is it the whole world? And we're going to see. We're going to see. Because really, the answer is both. In particular, Israel is going to be being targeted, those that are trying to worship the Lord according to his word, as they did during the Inquisitions and stuff like that, charging people with heresy. But in general, the whole world, he said it's going to be the worst time that the world has ever gone through. So it's not going to be, nothing easy, even if somebody, ain't thinking about God. They're going to be wondering why all this stuff is happening, because, the Lord let you know it's really not going to be any way to escape from you. It's people, they got bunkers and stuff, it's people been prepping for years. But, hey, the Lord let you know that, they're going to be like hiding and saying rocks fall on us. People that's trying to escape this, because ain't going to be no way to abide the day of the Lord. It's going to be upon everybody.
Can't hide.
Can't run. Well, you can run, but you can't hide. Right? But anyway, Revelation 12, we're going to pick it up at verse 1 again. When you're ready.
And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars.
All right, so pause, just for anybody who may not know why the question was pertaining to either Israel or the world. We're going to see what this woman, we're going to read what it was about. So hold your place here, and let's go over to Genesis chapter 37 and read about this woman that was clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet and a crown of 12 stars. We're going to Genesis 37. And we're going to look at one of Joseph's dreams. He got 2 dreams written in this chapter. We're going to look at the second one, I believe. And if you see the verse, bro, you can just call it out. Second dream. That sounds right, yep. Yes, sir. Good look. So we're going to start this off at Genesis chapter 37 and verse 9. When you're ready, bro.
And he dreamed yet another dream, and told it, his brother,
Mm-hmm.
and said, Behold, I had dreamed a dream more. And, behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obedience to me. And he told it to his father and to his brother. And his father rebuked him and said unto him.
Okay, so now this Joseph here, now he dreamed this dream, and he said, Behold, the sun and the moon, and in his dream he had 11 stars, made obeisance to me, meaning they bowed down to the ground. And now he said he told it his father and his brethren, and his father rebuked him and said unto him, what?
What is this dream that thou hast dreamed?
Uh-huh.
Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee to the earth? And his brethren envied him, but his father observed the same. All
right, so his father knew what this was pointing to, this dream. Because again, he said the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. So his father said, shall I And thy mother, that's the son, his father, his mother was the moon in the dream, and thy brethren were the 11 stars. Because Joseph was one of 12 brethren, right? So he would have made the 12th star, but that's why he only dreamed of 11, because this was really foretelling him being elevated to this position in Egypt, and his brothers was going to have to come and buy food off him. So this is what it's dealing with, Israel, flesh and blood Israel. Back to Revelation 12. So that's what it was dealing with here. It was pointing at Jacob, his wife, or you could say wives, whom Israel came out of. Because really they didn't come from one woman, but he wasn't going to have 4 moons in the dream, I guess. So this is what it's pointing at, though. And the people who come out of these 12 children, these 12 tribes. All right. So we at Revelation 12 and pick it up at verse 2.
And she being with child cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered.
So we know this pointing at Jesus. We know he came through Israel, even through the tribe of Judah. Go ahead.
And there appeared another wonder in heaven. And behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads.
All right, now we're going to go ahead. Keep reading, bro. I did this last time.
And his tail drew the 3rd part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born.
Now we know all this is spelled out in the birth of Jesus in Matthew, showing how Herod made the decree to kill all the 2 years and under infants, trying to find he that was born king of the Jews. We know that that was Satan, this dragon here, operating through Herod. That's why it said that the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. Go ahead.
And she brought forth a man-child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up unto God and to his throne.
All right, now let's get to what we came here for. Go ahead.
And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she had a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. All
right, so keep in mind this time frame that we're looking at. So the woman, again, this the church, if you will, the descendants of the 12 tribes of Israel. But not just any. We're going to really take a look at what's going, discern them in a minute. But she fled into the wilderness, where she had a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. Anybody know how long that is in years? All right. Y'all done heard it too many times. Y'all ain't do that math. Y'all ain't do that math that fast. But let's skip down to verse 9.
And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. All
right, now let's pick it up at verse 13.
And when the dragon saw that he was cast unto the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child.
All right, so now this dragon we know is Satan, and he's persecuting the church, which brought forth Jesus. And this chapter is all over the place. It's not in chronological order, because this wilderness part we keep reading about hasn't happened yet. But go ahead. It's going to talk about it one more time. Verse 14.
And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness.
Go ahead.
Into her place, where she is nurtured for a time, and to half a time from the face of the serpent. All
right, so again, now we see it calls the time frame a time and times and half a time, right? But it says she's still in the wilderness for this period of time where she is nourished. So the Lord going to be taking care of the church for 3.5 years. That's the same time frame. Time being 1 year, times plural being 2 years. Add them up is 3, and half a time, 3.5 years. And what is the serpent going to do here, verse 15?
And the serpent cast out of his mouth water of a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood.
All right, and floods and waters often represent people. Even if we go over a few chapters, we can read that in chapter 17, I believe, or 19. It's going to talk about how the sea represent different people and nations and multitudes and tongues. So this is what happened the first time when Israel was headed to the wilderness, right? But it was happening through Pharaoh and his armies when they encamped about Israel at the Red Sea. That was the flood that was sent out then. Hey, Satan going to do something similar to try to stop the church from getting to the wilderness in the future. So he cast out of his mouth water as of a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. And what happened? 16.
And he cursed.
The earth. 12 and 16. That's all right.
13,
Get right.
And the earth helped the woman.
Okay, so same way the Lord helped the woman splitting the Red Sea the first time. Hey, he going to help the woman again here. The earth helped the woman, and what?
And the earth opened her mouth
and
swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth.
Now here's the verse we really read all that to get to. Go ahead.
And the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed.
Now we know we dealing with a flesh and blood people here. And it said the dragon going to make war with the remnant of her seed. But now, what really determines whose seed we are throughout the Bible, right? Because we read all the way back in Genesis that the serpent, talking about this same dragon or the devil, he was going to bruise the heel of the woman's seed, and the woman's seed was going to bruise the serpent's head. That's what we read all the way back in Genesis. This that same thing taking place here. It said the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed. Now we know in Genesis it's literally talking about Jesus, but here it's the same thing. Those that worship God and that serve him and those that worship Satan is going to be at odds. So it said he went to make war with the remnant of her seed. But now here's what makes it not just flesh and blood. It say, which keep the commandments of God. And what else?
And have the testimony of Jesus Christ.
Oh, so this is who the dragon in particular is going to be trying to find. Those that's really serving God. Because, again, it's not about religion right now. You know, they got all type of other. They're going to call you a terrorist before they call you a heretic. But in the near future, it will be. And it's going to be some of the, Israelites, flesh and blood. We into everything else anyway. They're going to certainly be on the wrong side, a lot of us. So he's not going to be really worried about them. But, in general, we are already dealing with more hell than everybody, right? We already at the bottom, so now if the Lord bring hell on the earth, who you think going to get the brunt of it? Let's go over to Jeremiah 30. We're just going to show that it caused this time Jacob's trouble here. I think it's 30 or it might be 3. But yeah, this looks like it, right? Yup. All right, Jeremiah 30. And pick it up at verse 1.
Word that came to Jeremiah from the Lord, saying, Thus speaketh the Lord God of Israel, saying, Write thee all the words that I have spoken unto thee in a book.
All right, so this is what we read in the book of Jeremiah, and what he tell him?
For lo, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel and Judah.
All right, so he going to bring again their captivity, or like we read in Genesis, hey, unto Shiloh shall the gathering of the people be. He talking about ending the Israel right here. Go ahead.
Saith the Lord, and I will cause them to return to the land that I gave to their fathers, and they shall possess it.
All right, so we know the Lord going to do this like we read in Genesis. Unto Shiloh shall the gathering of the people be. And he only going to do this at the time of his return. And we can read in Matthew 24 that he coming immediately after the tribulation of those days. So we just looking at a preview of a little bit after tribulation right here. He talking about taking Israel back to the land. But skip down to verse 6 and go ahead.
Ask ye now, and see whether a man doeth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness.
So he like ask now, like women still having the babies, right? Like ain't no pregnant men around here. But he like, why it look like these men is in pain like a woman going through labor. That's what he's saying. He said, ask now. He said, and all faces turn to paleness because Israel's going through a lot of suffering and waiting to be delivered. It's like a woman pregnant waiting for this baby to drop so the pain could be over. That's what he said, and the one that's going to deliver us, we know, is Christ, right? But go ahead. So he said, ask ye now and see whether a man does travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins as a woman in travail, and all faces turned into paleness. Go ahead.
Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble.
So he said that day is great, so that there is none like it. We're going to read this all over the Bible. It say the same thing in Matthew 24. It say the same thing in Daniel 12. That there's going to be a time unlike any other time since man has been on the earth. It said, alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble. So again, it calls it Jacob's trouble here, but we just read that those that keep the commandments of God and the testimony of Jesus, that's who the dragon went after, the remnant of the woman's seed that keep the commandments and the testimony of Christ. But we see it says, it is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but go ahead. But
he shall be saved out of it.
All right, so again, and it say the same thing in Daniel. It say that at that time shall thy people be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. It says in Daniel 12. So that's going to be, and that's where we're going next, because we're going to see again that it separates those that are keeping the commandments there in Daniel from those that aren't. But I just wanted to show you, it is called Jacob's trouble, and that deals with a flesh and blood people. If we already catching hell now, it ain't going to let up when more hell get here. But in particular, they're going to be persecuting the saints, those that's trying to keep the commandments, even regardless of their ethnicity. Because that's going to be, just like it say, the death of his saints is precious in his sight. And it's going to be some people to have to get tried during this tribulation to make their robes white in the blood of the Lamb, it says. So let's go over Daniel 12, and this should be, actually maybe not 12. Let's try 10. We'll start at 12. Just to kind of recap where we was just at. We'll start at 12 because I quoted it. Now let's read it. Just to make sure we're dealing with the same time. Daniel 12 and 1.
And at that time shall Michael stand up,
Mm-hmm.
the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people.
Uh-huh.
And there shall be a time of trouble,
Like what?
such as never was seen. Such as never was since there was a nation.
Uh-huh.
Even to that same time.
This is what we just read in Jeremiah. He said, alas, for that day is great, so that there is no day like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble. Now he said, there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And what else?
And at that time thy people shall be delivered.
Uh-huh.
Every one that shall be found written in the book.
All right, so now let's turn back a couple pages, and we're going to just read a little bit about this abomination of desolation and see who it says he going to be warring against. Because it ain't changed since since Genesis, when the Lord put that enmity between Satan's seed and the woman's seed. Even though we know the woman's seed ultimately was talking about Jesus, hey, the servant is not above the master, right? If they persecuted the master and called him names, what you think they're going to do with us? So Daniel 10 and let's start at Daniel 11, I'm sorry, and 31. Daniel chapter 11 and 31. And when you're ready, go ahead.
And armed shall stand on his part.
All right, dealing with armies, go ahead.
And they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength. Shall take away the daily sacrifice.
All right, so these armies going to pollute this sanctuary, this temple that they haven't built yet. And they're going to take away this daily sacrifice, which they working on starting all this stuff now. These sacrifices over there in Israel, they started a program to fly over, import frozen embryos and all of this of cattle so that they can start this process. Then raised up people to do the sacrifices, killing the animals, and trained them how to kill the animals since children. They got a whole, what they trying to institute as the Levitical priesthood over there in Israel now. You just look up, if you go on YouTube, Temple Institute, you can see their channel and all the things that they doing. But we right at the gate for this. They trying to start these daily sacrifice. Like for the last few years, they've been trying to kill a lamb on Passover inside the walls of Jerusalem. So it says, arms shall stand on his part. They shall pollute the sanctuary of strength and shall take away the daily sacrifice. And what?
And they shall commit abomination of desolation, and such as do wickedly against the covenant.
So notice what it says here, such as do wickedly against the covenant. Go ahead.
Shall he corrupt by flatteries. But the people that do know their God shall be strong and do exploits.
So we see we're saying the same thing here. It say, and such as do wickedly against the covenant, we know is talking about the commandments. Deuteronomy 4 and 13 lets us know he gave them the covenant, even 2 tables of stone, the 10 commandments. So it says, such as do wickedly against the covenant, this guy is going to be able to deceive them. It says, shall he corrupt by flatteries. It say, but the people that do know their God, meaning they keep the commandments, right? Because again, it say, he that saith, I know him, and keepeth not the commandments, is a liar, right? Even when Christ said, many going to say unto him in that day, Lord, Lord, I did this, I did that. He going to say, I never knew you. Depart from me. Why? He said, ye that work iniquity. So again, it's those that keep the commandments that's going to have some understanding on who this guy is. But it says, such as do wickedly against the covenant. So that's who he's not going to be worried about them. He's going to corrupt those people. Shall he corrupt by flatteries? But the people that do know their God shall be strong and do exploits. They're going to go above and beyond. They're going to be the ones he's persecuting. Keep reading. 33. Again, they're going to be even turning some more people while he trying to get them to all take the mark. They that understand among the people shall instruct many, yet
they shall fall by the sword.
Who going to fall? They that understand, right? And what else?
And by flame, by captivity, and by the toil many days.
All right, so this is what it says, who he's going to be targeting. Let's go over one more while we here. I see you stretching over there, but let's go over to Daniel 8. Daniel chapter 8. And just see Daniel 8, and let's pick it up at verse 10. Daniel chapter 8 and verse 10.
And it waxed great, even to the host of heaven. And it cast down some of the host and of the stars to the ground, and stamped upon them. Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host. And by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down.
Go ahead.
And the host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression, and it cast down the truth to the ground, and it practiced and prospered. Then I heard one saint speaking, and another saint said unto that certain saint which spake, How long shall be the vision concerning the daily sacrifice?
All right, so now, Daniel had this dream. He asked him for the interpretation of it. But now let's skip down to verse 23 and go ahead.
And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full king of fierce consonants and understanding, dark sentences shall stand up.
All right, so now it's dealing with the very end of this Gentile dynasty here, and it says, fierce king understanding dark senses. So he's going to understand things that are hard to understand for a lot of the world. Go ahead.
And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power.
Because we could read that the dragon gave the beast his power, his seat, and great authority in Revelation. But go ahead.
And he shall destroy wonderfully. And shall prosper and practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people.
All right, so notice who he targeted, the mighty and the holy people. So again, this who going to be really in the spotlight, but again, we go to Revelation 12, see the Lord pouring out these plagues on the earth. He going to be at that point sealing some of his servants and killing the wicked. So it's just going to be death all over. Because like we could read with those 4 angels, it say there's going to be loosed in the river Euphrates. It say that they were prepared for a day and an hour and a month and a year for to slay a third part of mankind. And at that point, I think we done already read about a third dying at least once or twice. So, people going to be dying all over on a very increased, at a rapid pace. But especially the saints trying to keep God's commandments is going to really be the ones being sought out by, Satan's minions. So hopefully you got a second part to that. Okay, who's giving him the understanding of the dark senses? Well, let's go over to Revelation 13. So for anybody online, they ask, how does him understanding these dark sentences, who's giving him this understanding of these dark sentences? Is that coming from Satan or what? So we're going to go over to Revelation 13, because now we read in Daniel, it said his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. And I quoted this, but now, yeah, let's pick it up. Revelation 13 and verse 1.
And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority.
All right, so we see that the dragon, and we know this talking about the devil here, gave him his power. So I don't know if you want to group that, but it say, and his seat, that's this position, and great authority. And we know that this going to be the one allowing him to do his miracles and stuff like that. So I can't say exactly, if Satan gave him the understanding or whatever, but it was written. And it ain't like Satan don't understand, you know what I'm saying, what's going on here. Because, I mean, to be able to deceive somebody, I guess you got to know what the truth is anyway. But it said they worshiped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. Oh, you ain't even read that part. Go ahead. Well, that's cool. Dark sense. Let me see. And the beast was just... Yeah, go ahead.
And I saw one of his heads, as it were, wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed.
Uh-huh.
And all the world wondered after the beast.
All right, so let's see something. We'll go over to Matthew 13, I think. And let's pick it up at verse 23. So we looking at this parable of the sower here. But take note of something in verse 23. Go ahead.
But he that receives seed into the good ground is he that heareth the word and understandeth it, which also bringeth fruit, and bringeth forth, and some 100-fold, some 60, and some 30.
All right. I'm sorry, I meant to pick that up a little higher. Pick it up at 18, bro.
Hear ye therefore the parable of the sower.
Uh-huh.
When anyone heareth the word of the kingdom.
All right, so under normal circumstances, this is how it goes. We know it talk about these 4 different types of soil that the seed could fall on. And it says, when anyone heareth the word of the kingdom, and what? So first thing on the table, they don't fully understand it, which we were reading about this guy going to understand dark sentences. But what happens in this case where somebody don't understand the word? Go ahead.
Then cometh the wicked one.
Uh-huh.
And catcheth away that which was sown in his heart.
Hey, then comes Satan and take it away, whatever, the word was that was in their heart. Go ahead.
This is he which receives seed by the wayside.
So we see he be the one to normally blind someone or take away that which was sown in their heart when they don't understand it. So I guess he just don't got to come and catch it away. This guy going to know already he's doomed because he understand dark sentences, and it tell us right in the Bible he going to the lake before Satan. So, it seemed like Satan may have some part in him not being deceived because he's the one that usually does the deceiving. Dude going, he going to know he going to the lake of fire. The false prophet. It's in the Bible. He understand dark sentences. You think he ain't going to know who he is? Why you think he go there before Satan? Like, the Lord got issue with people who just openly reject his word like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude. It may not be, if it's only a few people that's written this we could read about definitely going to the lake. And Satan and the angels, the beast and the false prophet, and Judas. That's it. So, I mean, it ain't like, that's the normal way of thinking, I guess, for anybody, but it's already been written, so yes, he gonna definitely know. It say he gonna arise, understand. If we understand this stuff, it say he gonna understand dark sin. He gonna be dealing with, witchcraft and stuff. He gonna know. He gonna know exactly. Because it even lets us know in Daniel, he gonna honor a God of forces that his fathers didn't deal with. He gonna know exactly what he doing. It kind of hints at that in Daniel. But does that answer your question? I'm sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. All right. Let me just send this real quick. All right. We got anything else in the house? Let me check online. Ain't nothing online either. All right. Okay. Got Giants. Giants were men. Or
from angels.
say again.
They were teaching that these giants were from angels.
Okay.
So I guess answering combative, you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's a good one, man. I think the easiest way is to find any of these giants and trace back their genealogy. Nowhere in there will you see Michael or Azazel or whatever. But we'll see that they all go back to Ham, and that he obviously has some genetic, mutation to have big people come out of his lineage, because almost all of them come out of Ham and really Cush, I believe. But let's check it out. Let's look at a couple. One of the most well-known ones, I guess, would be Goliath. So let's start off in First Chronicles. Yeah, it should be First Chronicles 1. And actually, hold your place here. And then let's go over to Genesis chapter 10. Just so we can be sure, because this is where they call the Table of Nations here in Genesis 10, and it's pretty much a copy of it in First Chronicles 1, although some of the names are spelled a little differently, which might help us to know who's being spoken about. So Genesis chapter 10, and pick it up at verse 1 when you're ready. Or, yeah, I don't want to have this hold a million places, but the question for people online was read in the lesson, Genesis 6. The 6th chapter talks about there were giants in the earth in those days, and it talks about the sons of God marrying the daughters of men. So we know it's common false teaching that people say those sons of God were angels, and we'll take a look at where they get that idea. But we're going to disprove, the truth or whatever behind it. So go ahead, Genesis 10 and 1.
Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
Uh-huh.
And unto them were sons born after the flood.
Skip down to verse 6 and go ahead.
And the sons of Ham, Cush, Mizraim, and Phut, and Canaan.
Uh-huh.
And the sons of Cush, Sheba, Havilah, Sabbathah, and Raamah, and Sabbathah.
Okay.
And the sons of Ramah, Sheba, and Dedan.
All right. So now let's skip down to verse 13 and go ahead.
And Mizraim begat Luz, and Anamim, and Lehabim, and Naphtali.
All right, so this Mizraim, it showed us at verse 6, was one of Ham's sons. Go ahead. You can pick it up at 14.
And Pharusim, and Caluzim,
Uh-huh.
out of whom came Philistim
All right, so we see that out of Mizraim, because it said at verse 13, Mizraim begat Ludum and Anamim and Lehabim and Nephtuhim, and it's still talking about Mizraim's children. And it says, and Pathrusim and Casluhim, out of whom came Philistim and Caphtorim. All right, so now let's go over to 1 Chronicles 1 and read this same part there, but let's see if we can get some clarity on one of these names. 1 Chronicles chapter 1, and pick it up at verse 8, please.
The sons of Ham, Cush, and Mizraim, Phut, and Canaan.
And skip down to verse 11.
And Mizraim begat Ludum, and Anamim, and Lehabim, and Naphtuhim,
Uh-huh.
and Pathrusim, and Casluhim, and whom came the Philistines.
So it say, out of whom, out of who? This Casluhim came the Philistines, or the Philistines, and Caphtorim. So this was, it said Philistim in Genesis. So now we getting a little history, and we're going to see, why did we come here again? I said we was going to look at one of the more well-known ones, giants in the Bible, which was Goliath. So let's go over to 1 Samuel chapter 17. 1 Samuel 17, because, hey, this, probably, I think the best way to do it is to just trace their genealogy, because, I mean, like, you can't argue with that. It's a little dry. If they got the attention span to read through a couple names, though, and find out what's going on, then I think this is cut straight to the heart of the matter. So 1 Samuel 17, and pick it up at verse 1.
Now the Philistines gathered together their armies to battle, and were gathered together at Shochoh, which belongeth to Judah,
Uh-huh.
and pitched between Shochoh and Azekah.
Skip down to verse 4 and go ahead.
And there went out the champion out of the camp of the Philistines,
Uh-huh.
named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span.
All right, so now we getting some heights, but this Goliath, he was a giant. This is the same type of giants we could read about, because it's gonna say some stuff like that. Let's see. Keep reading. So it said Goliath of Gath, so he come out of the Philistines, right? Now, if at some point the angels had had been in here, we wouldn't be able to trace his genealogy back to the Philistines, right? Because he came out of Noah's sons, right? If he came out of so this traces it all the way back to Ham, the Philistines, because we saw that they came out of Casluhim, that these is Hamites. But go ahead, keep reading. We're gonna see if he compares to the other giants in size and everything. Or I don't know, maybe he's a small giant and the ones back in Genesis was bigger. I don't know. Let's see. So it says his height was 6 cubits and a span, right? Go ahead.
And he had a helmet of brass upon his head, and he was armed with a coat of mail, and the weight of the coat 5,000 shekels of brass.
Go ahead.
And he had graves of brass upon his legs, and a target of brass between his shoulders. And the staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam.
Oh, we ain't got the board up here, huh? All right. So just for your notes, you can check it out later. But a cubit, or the common cubit, or the cubit of a man, is about 18 inches. And it'll tell you, if you look it up, it's from like the middle of the forearm to the end of your fingers. All right, so it said he was 6 cubits, the common cubit, and a span which it says the span is about 9 inches. Say again. Yeah, so that's, thanks. I guess I'm taking too long. 9'9" for the people who can't wait. Nah, but so he was like 9'9". All right, so we got people today, not quite that I know of. We know Shaq was what, 7'7"? Huh? 7 foot. Somebody is 7'7". Oh yeah, one of them. Embiid, Manute Bol, 7'7". All right, I don't know what the tallest record we got. Somebody these days, but you know, say again. 8'3". Okay, so they got on record a guy 8'3", some Turkish farmers. So the point is, they weren't supernaturally tall. And that's what people often try to do when they read this stuff. And let me show you why. Because you know, we'll just read it. Let's see. Let's go to Numbers first. Numbers 3. So we see his height, right? 6 cubits in a span, which is a half a cubit. Let's go over to Numbers 13. Numbers 13. And pick it up at verse 1.
The Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Send thou men, that they may search the land of Canaan, which I give unto the children of Israel. Of every tribe of their fathers shall ye send a man, every one a ruler among them. And Moses, by the commandment of the Lord, sent them from the wilderness of Paran. All these men were heads of the children of Israel. And these were their names
Okay.
of the tribe.
Let's skip over to verse 27.
And they told him and said, We came unto the land whither thou sentest us.
Uh-huh.
And surely it floweth with milk and honey.
All right, so the Lord ready to send Israel to inherit this land that they were going to have to fight, you know, these other nations. Really, the Lord was going to deliver them into their hand. But there were other people living in the land. So some, you know, Israel went down there to spy out the land, see what it was hitting for, and they coming back with this report. So they said, we came unto the land whither thou sentest us, and surely it floweth with milk and honey. And what?
And this is the fruit of it.
Uh-huh.
Nevertheless, the people be strong that dwell in the land.
Go ahead.
And the cities are walled and very great. And moreover, we saw the children of Anak there.
Uh-huh. Go ahead and skip down to skip down to verse 31.
But the men that went up with him said, We be not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we. And they brought up an evil report of the land which they had searched unto the children of Israel, saying, The land through which we have gone to search it is a land that eateth up the inhabitants thereof. And all the people that we saw in it are men of a great stature.
Uh-huh.
And there we saw the giants, the sons of Anak.
All right, so again, we seeing these giants here say that they the sons of Anak. And again, you can trace all these genealogies, but let's go over to Joshua 15 real quick. So a lot of times when people read this stuff and say, we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, they take it literally. Like it's another place where it say that, you know, I forget what people is talking about, but it say their height was as the height of the cedars and compares them to trees and stuff. But he's not being literal. He just saying that they felt like midgets around these people. So he said, there we saw the giants, the sons of Anak, which come of the giants. And we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight. All right. Joshua 15. And pick it up at, actually, this is fine. Let's start at verse 13. When you're ready. Joshua chapter 15 and verse 13.
And unto Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, he gave a part among the children of Judah, according to the commandment of the Lord to Joshua, even the city of Arba, the father of Anak, which city is Hebron. And Caleb drove thence the three sons of Anak, Shishai, and Ahiman, and Talmai, the sons of Anak, the children of Anak. And he went up thence to the inhabitants of Debir.
All right, so we see here it's talking about these same ones that was in the land that Israel went to spy out when they came back with this evil report and said, hey, we like grasshoppers. That was the children of Anak. So now we looking at a little bit later, it say, unto Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, gave he a part among the children of Judah, according to the commandment of the Lord to Joshua, even the city of Arba. And who is Arba? He's the father of Anak. And again, you can follow these people's genealogies. They all got flesh and blood parents. Ain't no angels nowhere in there. But just to kind of, we'll go back and look at something else. Let's go over to Matthew. Oh, man. I meant to get some more. You know, we should check out Og. That's who I'm missing, Og. So we see it called these Anak descendants giants. But these people ain't, they're not supernaturally big. They just maybe a foot or two taller than people that we, that walk the earth today. And we can look at their genealogies, who their forefathers are. Pretty much all of them come out of Ham. But now let's go over to, which one? Let's go back to chapters, Joshua 12. You know what? Hold your place there. Let's go to Deuteronomy 3. Deuteronomy chapter 3. Hold your place in Joshua. Hopefully just Joshua 12 and what else? We read the Chronicles, but what was in Samuel? Oh yeah. Yeah, we should be good on those two. Deuteronomy 3 and it's talking about the travels of the children of Israel, all these different lands. In fact, yeah, we could probably pick it up at let's pick it up at chapter 2 real quick. Deuteronomy 2 and pick it up at verse 1. We're gonna skip around. Whenever you're ready.
Then we turned and took our journey into the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea, as the Lord spake unto me. And we could pass Mount Seir many days. And the Lord spake unto me, saying, ye have to pass this mountain long enough. Turn you northward.
All right, so now he about to have them pass through some lands. Pick it up at verse 5.
Meddle not with them, for I will not give you of their land. No, not so much as a foot breadth, because I have given Mount Seir unto Esau for a possession.
Skip down to verse 9. So he having Israel go through this plotted out course. he got for them, and he letting them know all the peoples they're going to pass through on the way to their land, and he letting them know, don't even bother with these people. He done gave them certain lots, for their possession. But he even going to give them a little history on the people that dwelt there prior to some of the people living there now. But pick it up at verse 9. We're going to get down to Moab. So we just got done dealing with Seir and Esau. Go ahead, skip down to verse 9.
And the Lord said unto me, distress not the Moabites,
Uh-huh.
neither contend with them in battle.
Why is that?
For I will not give thee of their land for a possession, because I have given Ar unto the children of Lot for a possession. And the Ems dwelt therein in the time past.
All right, so now look at who we reading at. It said the Emims dwelt there in times past. Go ahead.
A people great and many and tall.
Okay, so now these people was great and many and tall. Who was they tall like? This the same people who was just reading about, the children of Anak, right? Which what?
Which also were accounted giants, as the Anakim, but the Moabites called them Edom.
These just flesh and blood people. He give you a little history on all these people. Go ahead.
The Horims also dwelt in Seir before time, but the children of Esau succeeded them.
All right, let's skip over to verse 20.
That also was accounted a land of giants. Giants dwelt therein in old time, and the Amorites called the Zamzumims,
Mm-hmm.
a people great and many and tall as the Anakims. But the Lord destroyed them before them, and they succeeded them and dwelt in their stead.
So again, now if these was like, some supernatural beings, why they getting beat down and succeeded by some regular flesh and blood people? If we could read where one angel killing 85,000 people in a night, then how are these people? Because now we done read about two of them. Verse 11, it said, which were accounted giants as the Anakims, but the Moabites called them Emims, and then somebody else ended up dwelling in their possession. It said the Horims also dwelt in Seir before time, but the children of Israel succeeded them. So it talks about people being replaced by other people. It didn't matter whether they was giants or not, right? Again, if these was angels, they should have had some kind of special power or something, right? For one, we know angels don't even look like humans, right? We could look at a description of an angel in a minute, but we don't see nothing that stands out about these men. It just says a people great and many and tall as the Anakims, but the Lord destroyed them before them, and they succeeded them and dwelt in their stead. So these just regular people. But go ahead.
A people great and many and tall as the Anakims, but the Lord destroyed them before them, and they succeeded them and dwelt in their stead.
All right, now let's go over to Joshua 12. And we're going to look at one in particular. So we see this Anak, the Anakims, and we see that they were in the land Israel went to spy out, that they felt like grasshoppers compared to them people. But we see who their forefather was, this Arba. Now we're going to look at another one, well-known one, the king of Bashan, because we just read about Bashan, I believe, in one of the last couple of scripts. Let's go over to Joshua 12. Joshua chapter 12, and pick it up at verse 1.
Now these are the kings of the land, which the children of Israel smote, and possessed their land on the other side of Jordan, toward the rising of the sun, from the river Arnon unto Mount Hermon, and all the plain of the east. Sihon, king of Amorites, dwelt in Heshbon, and ruled from Arari all
Go ahead, skip.
even unto the river Jabbok, which is the border of the children of Ammon,
Skip to verse 12. I mean 4, and go ahead.
and the coast of Og, king of Bashan,
Uh-huh.
which was the remnant of the giants that dwelt at the Ashtaroth and at Edrei, and reigned in Mount Hermon and in Shalkah, and all Bashan unto the border of the Gergesites and the
All right. Well, we read that it was this was called a land of the giants, right? So now I'm trying to find Og in here. This genealogy, but these names, so many. But basically, you could trace back all these people to their forefathers. I think that's the most solid way to show that wasn't no angels in here, that these are just flesh and blood people. Plus, again, we see them getting beat by regular people in battle. They all die. We read about, some of them being succeeded by other people. They all died. We know angels live forever. They don't have any of the characteristics of an angel physically, like we can read. And we'll end on this quick description. I was going to try to find Og's genealogy. I know it's in here. And it shows that he also shows his height, the measurements of his bed and everything. He was about the same height as Goliath, I think we were just reading about, maybe a little bigger. But they weren't actually as tall as trees, and that's where people, they read that script that says they was, the Lord said, I destroyed these people. They were as the heights of the cedars, and people say, see, it had to be something supernatural. Those was angels, but nah, it gives you their actual heights, and they weren't really the size of trees. It was just being metaphorical. They just looked like giants to Israel. But what was I going to say? Did you see Og? What's the name? King of Bashan. Sihon. Heshbon, the land. All right. Where you at, Joshua? 12. Are you in 13? All right. Yeah. What'd you read? Verse 1? All right. Let's skip down to verse 4. Yeah, Joshua 12 and 4.
and the coast of Og, king of Bashan, which was the remnant of the giants that dwelt at Ashtaroth and at Edrei,
Mm-hmm.
and reigned in Mount Hermon and in Shalkah, and all Bashan unto the border of the Gergerites, and the Mount.
I'm sorry, I'm in another chapter looking for something. But just do your best if it's just a name.
And half of Gilead, the border of Shion, king of Heshbon. Them did Moses, the servant of the Lord, and the children of Israel smite. And Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave it for a possession unto the Reubenites and the Gadites and the half tribe of Manasseh.
All right. I don't So I see in here, we didn't read it in Deuteronomy. It talked about, we read about Og, but it talked about his bedstead was a bedstead of iron. So it talk about how big 4 cubits was the breadth of it, and 9 cubits the length of it. So again, it's a huge bed, but he ain't as big as a tree. These are just normal people that all end up dying. But now over to Matthew. This should be it. We just gonna read this one thing. Matthew chapter 22 and 24. 22 and pick it up at 23. Matthew chapter 22 and verse 23. When you're ready.
The same day came to him the Sadducees, which say that there is no resurrection, and asked him, saying, Master, Moses said, if a man die, having no children, his brother shall marry his wife, and raise up seed unto his brother.
Mm-hmm.
Now there were with us 7 brothers, and the first, when he had married a wife, deceased, and having no issue, left his wife unto his brother.
Go ahead.
Likewise the second also, and the third unto the seventh.
All right, so now these Sadducees, it started off saying they say that there's no resurrection, but they tempting Christ with something out of the law that said if a man died not, having any children, that his brother was supposed to marry his wife and raise up that first child to his brother. So now they giving him this hypothetical scenario about this woman that, end up being with 7 brothers and had children with none of them. What verse you at? 26. All right, go ahead.
And last of all, the woman died also. Therefore, in the resurrection, whose wife shall she be of the 7? For they all had her. Jesus answered and said unto them, Ye do err, not knowing the scriptures, nor the power of God.
Uh-huh.
For in the resurrection there neither marry, nor any given in marriage.
All right, so he told him, you do err. You're making an error not knowing the scriptures nor the power of God. Because again, they say that there is no resurrection. But he letting them know even a little more than we have written about the resurrection. He said, in the resurrection, they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but what? He said they don't even deal with that, marriage. And we know the Bible's pretty much, it say, y'all one once you lay together. It call, a man, even if he force a woman, it say she gonna be his wife after that forever. So we know it would call relations, it would link that in, it would group that in with being married. At a certain point, yeah. And things was a lot different then. They had to, buy the wives, pay a dowry, even under the proper, protocol, which, I never even heard that term dowry outside of the Bible in these days, But he said, ye do err, neither knowing the scriptures nor the power of God, for in the resurrection they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but they as the angels of God in heaven. So it seemed clear that the angels don't even get down like that. But we ain't got nothing else online. Anything else in the house? Oh, okay. I was wondering who they was. Okay. Oh man. Wow. Yeah, yeah. It's nothing else going on. Yeah, that's a good question. For the people online, the question was about like self-help material and, you know, books and resources of that nature. Are there any that, you know, we recommend that don't contradict with the Bible or anything like that? You know, I can't say per se. It's really, you know, because we don't recommend anything as a church. You know, I listen to a lot of audio books and stuff, but you know, I couldn't really give you any that is going to be 100% correct. You know, they all when they try to touch on religion, a lot of them go off the mark. Then you know, so I just, you know, bypass those parts. Usually they got to fast forward 30 seconds, John, or whatever, you know. Because a lot of books going to try to bring up evolution. That's one thing that I notice. A lot of audio books do. They try to, you know, explain away the human condition through evolution. And I already know what time it is. So, you know, but I can't make any recommendations up here. You know what I'm saying? Because I can't really think of any that would be completely in line with the Bible. But mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and you know, I do, but you know that we can. I might can recommend some stuff when I, you know, go through my list of books to you personally. But you know, standing up here, like I said, it's gonna always be something that they are at fault with. You know, that's just the condition of the world and partially our fault, our forefathers' fault. So you know, but that's just what it is. When it comes to God, now you know, outside of that, you know, stuff might make you feel better and stuff. You know, that's cool. Hey, the word do that though when you learn how to, because again, this is spiritual warfare. So if things are bothering you like that, maybe you know it's trying to get you to go somewhere else. You know, but the answers is really the Lord. Let's see something. Let's see something. Let's go to John 17 first. I think it's somewhere else I want to start for real. Before that, like back in the Old Testament, but all right. Well, first, I know you probably already there, right? Hold your place there, and I think Isaiah 63 is. You know what? Let's start off real simple. Psalm 1. Let me go to Psalm. I'm sorry. Psalm chapter 1. And we're just going to read through it. Psalm chapter 1 and verse 1 when you're ready.
Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly.
All right, so first off, we see who's 1 and 1.
1 and 1. Everybody knew that.
Yeah, I was.
I'm messing with you. I'm messing.
Yeah, Psalm and well, I was kind of thinking that, but nah, Psalm 1. So notice what it say. Blessed is the man that what? Walk not in the counsel of the ungodly. So it might not be an issue if it ain't going against God's commandments, but if, you know, we walking in the counsel of somebody that don't know how to get salvation, what are they really leading you to? You know what I'm saying? There might be some, all right, you know, we want to feel better about ourselves and stuff like that in this life or whatever, but really the Lord, he say, you know, everyone that serve him going to suffer persecution, affliction. They done painted the wrong picture really about serving God. And that's part of the problem. Because sometimes, the Bible lets us know that through sorrow and things of that nature, the heart is made better. You can read that in Ecclesiastes. It say it's better to go to the house of mourning than to the house of feasting. Because, hey, when you mourn, it say, when say we lose someone that we love, it say that's going to make the living consider. And we'll read some of that. So even when the Lord is given what they call the Beatitudes, right? He talk about those that mourn now, they going, laugh and be satisfied later. Those that laugh now, they going to be the ones crying later, So, we look at the story, the parable of Lazarus, in his life, and the angel, or they even told the rich man in the parable, that's Luke 16, but told the rich man, in your life, hey, you had good stuff. He said Lazarus, he had a rough life, and now he is comforted. So the Lord is considering what people endure in this life. All right, but so he said, blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor what?
Nor standeth in the way of sinners.
Uh-huh.
Nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful.
All right, so just so you know how this relates, if we listen or read in a book and somebody, that don't know the truth is recommending something contrary, that would apply to the first verse, not walking in the counsel of somebody that don't know God. But now, go ahead. What's his delight in?
But his delight is in the law of the Lord.
Uh-huh.
And in his law doeth he meditate day and night.
So, key word here, meditate. What does that mean? Anybody? Yeah, it's really like, it's, you focusing on something, your attention on something, and then, as your mind strays off, you put it right back. That's the key part of meditating, is going back to, what you was thinking about, because you're going to get distracted. But it said his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law does he meditate day and night. This is how servants of God didn't have to, they didn't give more weight to what was happening around them, like Mishael, Shadrach, and Abednego. When the king, Nebuchadnezzar, like, look, I'm going to give y'all one more chance. When I put this music on, they like, look, we ain't even careful to answer you in this matter. Because guess what? Guess where their mind is at? On the word of God. Them commandments, don't put no other gods before me. Don't bow down and be worshiping no graven. That's what they're meditating on. And that's what they give the more value to. That's what a servant of God got to learn how to do, to keep the word of God in his mind over all the fear and stuff happening out there. But he said his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law does he meditate day and night. And what? Verse 3.
And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water.
Uh-huh.
Bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither. And whatsoever he doeth shall prosper.
Go ahead.
The ungodly are not so, but are like the shaft which the wind drives away. Therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish.
All right, cool. So we see, who is going to be blessed here. People that's not walking in the counsel of the ungodly is the one part we read here. But then also, hey, we're not even tripping about what other people do necessarily. We're going to admonish them out of, consideration for ourselves. Lest we be in the same situation, we would want somebody to check us in a godly way. But hey, he said that person's delight, really, they ain't worrying about what other people. Their delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law does he meditate day and night. All right, let's go over to, where's the next place? Head on here. Yeah, I think that's 63, thank you. Isaiah, I think it's 63. Maybe it's not 63. 26, Isaiah chapter 26. We are at 26. Thank you. 26. I did, man. You know what I'm saying? I can't get them all right, bro. Verse 3.
Thou will keep him in perfect peace,
Who?
whose mind is stayed on thee,
Why is that?
as he trusteth in thee.
So notice what the Lord got Isaiah to write here. And again, he using the same verbiage like meditate, because he say, whose mind is stayed on thee. He said he going to keep them in perfect peace. Because really, you know, going through like all the literature and stuff, like they going to tell you that when a person is doing absolutely nothing, that like that's the most chaotic, you know, state of mind. You're going to be worrying about all this negative stuff when you're doing nothing. You know, like people used to always say, older folks, you know, the idle mind is the devil's playground. You know, I can't read that in the Bible, but it seemed to be pretty accurate. You know what I'm saying? It seemed to be pretty accurate. So he's saying, though, hey, thou will keep him in perfect peace whose mind. So again, this where is taking place at, in the mind, is stayed on thee because he trusteth in thee. All right, let's see what else. Let me see something. There's some good scripts. I got like a set of them. I just don't know what I labeled it as. Oh, yeah, let's go to Lamentations. Hold on. Let's see, man. In John? Oh, 17. Was that this question? That was the first one. Went to. All right. Nah. I think that was Oh yeah. All right. Yeah, we could do that. That's cool. Let's go over to St. John actually. Because, yeah, I was going to show this first, but I was trying to find it in the Old Testament. But St. John, we're going to go to John 17. St. John chapter 17. And let's actually start at 16. And let's pick it up at verse 7. St. John chapter 16 and verse 7. Chapter 16, yeah, and 7. When you're ready, and they all there.
Chapter 16 and 7. Nevertheless, I tell you the truth. It is expedient for you that I go away. For if I go not away, the Comforter will not come unto you. But if I depart, I will send him unto you.
All right, and what's he call him? He call him the Comforter, right? Now, this is what Christ said when he was here on earth, that he was going to send him. But now, really, he just doing the job for Jesus, because he the one that's really going to be your comforter. And this ain't nothing new. Even before he was sending this one known as the Spirit of Truth. We could read about a comforter. Let's go over to Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes chapter 4. Actually, I'm sorry. 14. While we here in John, let's read 14 too. I meant to do that before, because they both talk about this comforter. John chapter 14, and pick it up at verse 15.
If you love me, keep my commandments.
Uh-huh.
And I will pray the Father, and he shall give you another comforter.
All right, so the first part is if you love me, he said, keep my commandments. And then he said he's going to pray to the Father, and he shall give you another comforter. So this, one of the jobs of the Holy Ghost or the Spirit of Truth is to give you this comfort. Because this is why he even told his disciples, before he left in Matthew 28, he said, behold, I am with you even until the end of the world. And this is how he's going to be with us through this comforter. But he said, if you love me, keep my commandments, and I will pray the Father, and he shall give you another comforter, that he may abide with you forever, even who?
Even the Spirit of truth,
Uh-huh.
whom the world cannot receive, because it seeth him not.
Go ahead.
Neither knoweth him, but ye know him, for he dwelleth with you, and shall be in you.
Uh-huh.
I will not leave you comfortless.
He said, I will not leave you comfortless. Go ahead.
I will come to you yet a little while, and the world seeth me no more, but ye see me. Because I live, ye shall live also.
All right. So this is what the comforter or the Spirit of Truth is supposed to do. He's supposed to help comfort you. And how's he going to do that? By bringing his word into your remembrance. That's all he really going to do. Because his word should offer the comfort if we just believe in it, because we're going to know this is just temporary. And the Lord done made promises. He can't lie.
The Lord is not
Yeah.
slack on his promises.
Let's go over to Hebrews 11. Hebrews 11. Looking for something else. Hebrews 11 and 6, I believe. Hebrews 11.
It's not possible to please him.
Yes, sir. And pick it up actually at 1, and we'll skip around over to 6. So we're going to read Hebrews 11 and 1 and 1 and 2, then we'll skip to verse 6 when you're ready.
Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen.
Uh-huh.
For by it the elders attained a good report.
All right, but he using words like substance, something tangible, evidence of things hoped for, things not seen. So we're going to be able to tell whether you have it or not. Why? He go into detail and show us. For by it the elders obtained a good report, because it's going to cause us to do what thus saith the Lord. And that's what he started to talk about, all the actions these people of faith did. But skip down to verse 6 and go ahead.
But without faith it is impossible to please him.
Uh-huh.
For he that cometh to God must believe that he is.
So he said, he that cometh to God must believe that he is, that God exists, in other words, and what?
And that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him.
All right, so this is part of what's going to help mitigate those negative feelings, hopefully, is your hope in the reward. All right, you got to really believe that God is going to grant you with something way better than all the hell that you're going through now. You have to believe that. And it's telling us that. It said, without faith, it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, not just that he is, but that I'm going to get something for enduring all of this. That he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. Let's go over to Psalm. I know everyone seemed to be like the last one to think of the next one, but I remember quoting this to you last week, so I did want to read it. I think Psalm 27. Yeah, Psalm 27. And we're going to pick it up at verse 13. Psalm chapter 27. And
One of the ones everybody like going to.
oh, yeah? Why you say that? You got marked?
No.
Oh, okay.
What Sunday people like going to.
Really?
Well, yeah, 27 and 23.
Yeah. Definitely Psalms. Psalm 27 and verse 13. 27 and 13. Go ahead.
I have fainted.
So look, this David here, again, a man after God's own heart. This David, he said he would have fainted or given up, in other words, had what?
Unless I had believed to see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living.
This is what we just read in Hebrews. It said he that cometh to God must believe that he is and that he's a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. This is what David was looking forward to as he was, pressing on. Because he said other than that, he'd have given up. I had fainted unless I had believed to see. He didn't see it yet. He didn't receive this yet. But he believed to see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. This is what kept him going. Go ahead, verse 14.
Wait on the Lord.
Uh-huh.
Be of good courage.
What else?
And he shall strengthen thine heart.
Hey, he going to strengthen thine heart. Go ahead.
Wait, I say, on the Lord.
And this is what waiting on the Lord is. It's endurance, really exercising your faith. We see this what the Lord looking for are people that believe. Because we even read earlier in Hebrews 3 how those that didn't believe fell in the wilderness. One more spot. 1 Peter 5.
Then one more spot after that, y'all.
1 Peter 5. Only if you got the next one. Take us there. 1 Peter 5 and just one verse. Verse 7.
Casting all your cares upon him, for he careth for you.
All right. So this is, I'm sorry, I should have started at 6, but read 6 if you don't mind.
Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God.
All right, say humble ourselves under the mighty hand of God that what?
That he may exalt you in due time.
And this is the protocol. It's the same way even Christ himself came and was exalted. But go ahead.
Casting all your cares upon him, for he careth for you.
So this is what we got. You got these, whatever the problem may be, hey, pray to the Lord about it. Because he definitely can help you more so than these audio books. But I really, I've gotten in the habit of doing that so that to kind of not listen to as much music.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Be sober, be vigilant.
Yeah.
Oh, you want me to read that? Huh?
Oh, you can. Go
Be
ahead.
sober, be vigilant.
Uh-huh.
Because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour, whom resist steadfast in the faith, knowing that the same afflictions are accomplished in your brethren that are in the world.
All right. We're going to take a page out of Brother Stan's book and define vigilant. It say, keeping careful watch for possible danger or difficulties. So he's saying, hey, be sober, be vigilant, like the Lord described it. This our house, if you will, and it's a thief out there definitely trying to break in and take everything we got. So we should be right.
So you know.
And we don't know what hour, what hour that the thief come to break up. You know what I'm saying? We got to stay on our guard. So, and that's one of the ways that Satan try to get us, through emotions and stuff like that. So, hopefully that answers your question, sis. We got anything else in house? Nope. Going once. Going twice. All right, then if nothing else, we're going to get ready to stand and face Jerusalem. Close out with the Lord's Prayer.
Jerusalem, shalom, shalom.
I want to thank y'all for tuning in online. Hope y'all had a blessed Sabbath, and see y'all next week, Lord willing.
Our Father which art in heaven,
Our Father which art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name.
hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy kingdom come,
Thy will be done in earth
thy will be done in earth,
as it is in heaven.
as it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread,
Give us this day our daily bread,
and forgive us our debts,
and forgive us our debts,
as we forgive our debtors.
as we forgive our debtors.
And lead us not into temptation,
And lead us not into temptation,
but deliver us from evil.
but deliver us from evil.
For thine is the kingdom,
For thine is the kingdom,
and the power,
and the power,
and the glory forever.
and the glory forever.
In Jesus' mighty name we pray.
In Jesus' mighty name we pray.
Amen.
Amen.